بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب زدني علما.
Further ado now, I will ask Shaykh Muhaddis Ziad to start his talk. Shaykh Ziad Tuklah, last year he has done a talk on Shaykh Muhammad Bahjat Bitar, which Shaykh Suhaib Hassan mentioned that he had links with the Shaykh Rashid Rida and King Abdulaziz. He had a great respect for both of them, for Rashid Rida and Shaykh Bahjat Bitar. And last year we mentioned that Shaykh Muhammad Bahjat Bitar, he was involved in the committee of scholar regarding the mistakes of Shaykh Sanallah Ministry, and Shaykh Rashid Rida as well was invited by King Abdulaziz. So the topic of the talk today is the teacher of Shaykh Muhammad Bahjat Bitar, Shaykh Jamaluddin Qasimi, and his Tafsir and his efforts regarding the science of Hadith. Shaykh Muhammad Ziad Tuklah is a well-known scholar and Shaykh. He benefited from many great scholars of Hadith like Shaykh Abdul Qadir Arnaut, and in Saudi Arabia from Shaykh Ibn Baz, Shaykh Ibn Jibrin, Shaykh Ibn Aqil. He has many ijazat from the main great scholars of India, Pakistan, Al-Hadith scholars and Hanafis as well, like Shaykh Abul Hassan Ali Nadvi, and as well the great Al-Hadith scholars like Ubaidullah Mubarak Puri, Hafiz Abdul Manan Nurpuri, and many others. He has written biographies of Al-Hadith scholars. He has published books of Nawab Siddiq Hasan Khan, and many other books. His biographies are present on forums and on many places. So without any further ado, inshallah, I will ask the Sheikh to speak about Shaykh Jamaluddin Qasimi.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا، من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد، فأحمد الله سبحانه وتعالى الذي يسر هذا اللقاء. Dear brothers, I'm glad to have this chance to give the speech about Jamaluddin Qasimi and his tafsir. Even that it was even more better than if we still listen from our great scholars, especially Shaykh Suhaib Hassan, Barakallah fi wa jazahu khairan, and jazak khairan all those who are giving us these benefits from the scholars. If I can share the screen, brother, jazakallah khair, for the host. So I will present my PowerPoint about Jamaluddin Qasimi. طيب. Until you give me participation screen sharing, I will start the speech. Shaykh Jamaluddin Qasimi, rahimahullah ta'ala, he was a very famous scholar in Damascus in the last century. So he was born in the Shaykh Jamaluddin Qasimi, rahimahullah, he was born in Damascus in the year 1283, and he passed away 1333. So he was 49 years old only when he passed away. He was the reformer and the leader of the Salaf Da'wah in Damascus and in Syria, and from him it started. From him then his friends and students like Shaykh Muhammad Bahjat Bitar and others, until it was a bit spread in Asham. Why do we study persons like him and like other reformers? Because from them we can take the benefit, we can take the model, and we can find a lot of good things, and even sometimes that some of the situations they faced, we can benefit from them to see how they deal with that, about their manners, how do they deal in, especially in the weakness of the time, and also the difficulties and challenges. Now we are sometimes having the fruits of those who started before, but how did they suffer? How did they open the path to the people behind them or after them? That's also from the things that we benefit. First of all, if we look about the environment beside Jamaluddin Qasimi, if we look in the era, it was in the last times of the Ottoman Empire. It was in the very weak days, in the end of the Ottoman Empire. While many of the Muslim countries are collapsing and also colonizing, coming to most of the Islamic regions, and it was a very weak period for Muslims. as it was also about the time, if we look at the place in Sham and Damascus, it was also the time that it was mostly about the Sufism time. So there was a lot of ignorance that time. Who are learned are very few. Most people are literate, and those who are learned, who goes to the religion sciences and to Sharia, most of them they go into tasawwuf, and even if they take fiqh, usually it will be in a strict way, like ta'assub and strict taqlid way. So in that time, it was very rare, especially in Asham, if someone has more than one sheikh, and they will say a nasty moral, they will say, or a nasty sentence, they will say, al-muridu bayna shaykhayn kal-mar'ati bayna zawjayn. If a student or a person that he's between two shuyukh, he's like a wife between two husbands. So in that era, that's how can we understand when we see, for example, even the beginning of Shaykh Allama Jamaluddin Qasimi, that he started as a Naqshbandi, as a Sufi, as most of the persons in his era. So even Shaykh Jamaluddin Qasimi, he said by himself that I was a Naqshbandi and a follower of my Shaykh Muhammad al-Khani, but later I left that. Then he said in some of in some period of his life that I changed into the Salaf way, and I am following their way and looking to their legacy and benefiting from them. So as we need to consider always about, especially those who started from zero, if we even sometimes find like there are some notes here and there, but if somebody came from zero until he reached 95%, that's a very great succeed and improvement. So usually anyone that he want to be judged or want to be studied, he should not be taken out of his environment, about what was the situation in his time. So Jamaluddin Qasimi rahimahullah, he, as we said, he was born in the year 1283. His family, because he was in Damascus, he was born in Damascus. Damascus was also from the main, even in all history, it's from the main places for science and Sharia. So his family also, his father and his grandfather were also a scholarly family. So his father was an alim, and also he was a adib, he was a poet, and he had a lot of books. And his grandfather, he's Jamaluddin ibn Muhammad Sa'id ibn Qasim. Qasim, that's why he's called Al-Qasimi, by his while his family was called Al-HAQQACADEMY, the barber. So Qasim, his grandfather, he was a great scholar, from among the best scholar in Damascus, and he was a student in Hadith to Abdurrahman al-Kuzbari, and also he had a lot of books. So from this family also, his grandfathers from his mother's side, or his father's mother's side, also they were also scholars, Mahmud Hassan Jubayna al-Dusuqi, and they were from Al-Ashraf. So Jamaluddin Qasimi, he rise in a family that he had scholars from both sides, from the side of his father and the side of his mother. He was so intelligent since he was very young. So he will say that from the beginning, I was always not wasting my time. I was reading all my time. And some stories that he mentioned, he was still like 14 years old and 15 years old. So for example, he said that from I was 14 years old, I started teaching in my mosque, and I was preparing a lot for the mabadi. So he was teaching the students of his father. Then he was making regularly durus. After that, he started writing books. He was 16 years old. So he was an intelligent from his start, and because he came raised in the side of his father, and his also from the brother of his grandfather, Sheikh Mahmoud Dusuqi, also he started solidly from the beginning. When we look about his shuyukh, Jamaluddin Qasimi, he wrote a self-biography and it was published by our dear friend Muhammad Nasr al-Ajmi, Jazakallahu khairan, in his book about Jamaluddin Qasimi. It's from the best books if somebody wants to read it in Arabic. So he said about himself that he was born in Hay al-Qanawat, in Al-Qanawat quarter in Damascus, while he was in the year 1283 Hijri, and he was raised under the vision of his father. He read Quran to one of the Quran teachers who came from Egypt. His name was Abdurrahman ibn Ali ibn Shihab al-Misri. And this Hafid, he was very good, and he was very good in teaching Quran. And later, when Jamaluddin Qasimi, he was a bit older and he started to teach, his Shaykh came to study to Jamaluddin Qasimi. Then Jamaluddin Qasimi studied to learned how to read and write with Shaykh called Mahmoud Effendi ibn Muhammad Mustafa al-Qursi. He was a Turkish teacher, and he was very good in the both scripts, Al-Ruqa and Farisi. So Jamaluddin Qasimi studied to him for 3 years. Then he returned to Quran and he went to the Shaykh of Qurra of Damascus. That time he was Ahmad al-Hulwani. He was the greatest scholar of Quran in Damascus, and later he was Shaykh al-Qurra. Then his son Salim al-Hulwani, he was also Shaykh al-Qurra. So Ahmad al-Hulwani, Jamaluddin Qasimi studied to him. He was still under 20 years old. So he took one khatma riwayat Hafs to him, and also he studied to him the books of Tajweed like Al-Maydaniya and Sharh al-Jazariya for Zakaria al-Ansari twice, and Sharh Khalid al-Azhari also on al-Jazariya. And also he read to him most of his book about he had a poem about Tajweed called Al-Lata'if al-Bahiyya. So he read most of his explaining book about to this qasida. And so he was reading also with Quran. So he was reading Quran and also practicing Tajweed with him. And he took his ijazah. He was still 18 years old. Shaykh Ahmad Hulwani only studied to him the great Qurra in Damascus. Jamaluddin Qasimi was one of those who studied to him and took his ijazah. And when he was finishing reading with Shaykh Ahmad al-Hulwani, he was going to the grand scholar of Damascus that time. He was called Salim ibn Yasin al-Attar. Salim ibn Yasin al-Attar, he was from the grandsons of Ahmad Ubaid al-Attar. Ahmad Ubaid al-Attar, he was from the grand scholars of Damascus, and he was also from those who went to fight Napoleon when he went to Akka in Palestine to surround it. He was from those who went to fight him. So he read to him, Jamaluddin Qasimi said that I went to him and read in all the knowledge at that time, in Arabic language, in Nahu, in Tafsir, in Usul, in Fiqh, and also he read to him most of Sahih al-Bukhari with explanation also. So he lasted with him several years. And he read to him also Al-Muwatta and the book of Al-Shifa completely, and most of Masabih al-Sunnah by al-Baghawi and the Jami' al-Saghir and many other books. He took his ijazah, he was still 18 years old. So he read all these books, while usually these books that only the senior students read to this man, because he was the Mufti of Damascus and the grand scholar there. Jamaluddin Qasimi finished and took ijazah from these books. He was still 18 years old. Also, he studied to the uncle of Shaykh Salim al-Attar, who was named Bakr al-Attar. Also, he was a muhaddith. So he also studied to him several books, and also in hadith and in al-aqaid, and in hadith he read to him most of Bukhari and Muslim, and also al-Muwatta and Abi Dawood and Ibn Majah and Shama'il. And also he gave him ijazah next year 13 too. So he was 19 years old. Also, his third sheikh that he lasted with him a long time, he was called Muhammad ibn Muhammad al-Khani. He was the sheikh of Tariq al-Naqshbandiyya in Damascus. He studied to him several sciences and several topics in aqaid and mantiq and Arabic and fiqh and hadith and mustalah al-hadith, usul al-fiqh and tasawwuf, and he took the Tariq al-Naqshbandiyya from him. Then Jamaluddin Qasimi later said that I left the Tariqah. So he took it as all that environment usually they were taking. You can see that similar also in other places like in Iraq, also the Alusiyin, like Nu'man al-Alusi, also he took the Tariq Naqshbandiyya before. but most of them, as it was the environment in that time. So as they will study fiqh and other things and other sciences, also they will take the tariqah from the shuyukh. That was before the reforming and in the first stages for these reformers. Also, as we said, that he was with the uncle of his father, the brother of his grandfather, Mahmoud Jubayn al-Dusuqi, and also he took his ijazah and he studied to many others. He was very keen in studying and always saving his time. So Jamaluddin Qasimi said that one day it was so cold and it was heavy snowing that day. He went to his teacher Salim al-Baytar. It was very bad weather and his house was far from him and it was a heavy snow and very cold. When he went there, he only found his teacher. And he said usually there were a lot coming the dars, but that time I was the only one there. So his teacher said, I came and I was waiting and I knew that only one will come will be you, because anyone will never come, even my neighbor, he can't go in this weather. And I knew that only you, Jamaluddin, that you are the only person that he will come whatever it is. And also Jamaluddin Qasimi said that once one person, he was very famous in teaching mathematics, he was a math teacher, he came to him and he told him that I want to study Arabic to you. So Jamaluddin Qasimi told him that I accept that with one condition, that you will teach me mathematics. And yes, he studied to that. And also Jamaluddin Qasimi, from the knowledge he studied astronomy to Abdul Qadir al-Tantawi. So that's how we can see from a very early time how Jamaluddin Qasimi, he took from several shuyukh and also from very early time, and he was all time reading and not wasting his time at all. And also he was very keen to have the knowledge and to seek knowledge. He also took a lot of ijazat from many scholars inside Damascus and outside, as Nu'man al-Alusi, for example. He sent him and he took ijazah murasala from him, and he traveled to Medina and to Al-Quds and to Egypt, and he met the scholars wherever he was going. He had also a good relation and a good friendship with many famous people like Abdul Razzaq al-Baytar, the grandfather of Bahjat al-Baytar, and also with Ahmad ibn Muhyiddin al-Hassani al-Jazairi. And also he was always giving in touch with letters with some of the great scholars like Mahmoud Shukri al-Alusi and Muhammad Nasif and Rashid Rida and others. And by the way, you can see the letters between him and between Mahmoud Shukri al-Alusi. They are printed, edited by Muhammad Nasr al-Ajmi, Jazallahu Khair, Shaykh Muhammad Nasr al-Ajmi. And the letters between them, you can see how much they are really keen and really involved to reform and to spread knowledge and the path of as-Salaf. Jamaluddin Qasimi says that from I was very young, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me the love of reading and seeking knowledge and writing books and writing letters. So he said that I was always returning from my durus and stay in our house to our library, because it was the library of scholars, his father and his grandfather. And I did not like at all to stay without doing anything or to spend my time without any benefit. So he said I was still young and I've read from the books of history and literature and adab what I can't count, countless books. I remember, he said, that when I was 15 years old, I was ill and I stayed like 3 months at home. I was very ill. So the only thing that I was doing, I was always reading books. And in that time, I was still ill. I was 15 years old. I collected I collected a book, had a lot of fawaid from here and there, and notes and stories and poems and verses. So I collected a book. I was still 15 years old. That's for what he said. And he said when I was still also young, I was having like small book notes. I was writing them from what I'm finding from the books. Who wrote biographies about Al-Qasim and said about some of his stories. They said wherever he's going, even if he's walking to the market or he's on train or he's going to anywhere, he will have some white paper or the blank papers in his pocket and a pencil. So whatever comes to his mind, or he finds something or remembers something, he will directly take it and write it. And that reminds us with Al-Bukhari, when he was mentioned that in his time, rahimahullah ta'ala, when he was going to sleep, and whenever something comes to his mind, he will go and light his candle and write what came to his mind. Then he will return to bed. And sometimes he will make this near 20 times in a night. So there's a lot of the books of Jamaluddin Qasimi. He will write in the end of these books, in the conclusion of the book, that he finished this book while he was on a journey, or he was in a trip. As we said, also he wrote his book called As-Safina. He was 16 years old. So that's why Rashid Rida said about him, Al-Alim Al-Mujid الذي يقتل وقته كله في التدريس والتصنيف وتصحيح الكتب النافعة. He's the scholar that he's always killing his time and spending all his time in teaching and authoring and correcting books. Jamaluddin Qasimi rahimahullah, he went once to a cafe, and he saw people. In that time, they will gather there, they will drink their coffee, and they will take sometimes their shisha, and they will waste their time. So he was screaming on them. He said, I wish that you can buy me your time. I don't find time to sleep or to eat. And in one of his books, in قواعد التحديث, Jamaluddin Qasimi said, والعبد الضعيف جامع هذه الكتب هذا الكتاب قد من الله عليه بفضله فأسمع صحيح مسلم رواية ودراية في مجالس من 40 يوما آخرها في 28 من شهر صفر الخير سنة 16 و300 وألف، وأسمع أيضا سنن ابن ماجه كذلك في مجالس من 21 يوما آخرها في 22 من شهر ربيع الأول سنة 16 و300، وأسمع أيضا الموطأ كذلك في مجالس من 19 يوما آخرها في 15 شهر ربيع الآخر سنة 16 و300 وألف، وطالعت بنفسي تقريب التهذيب للحافظ بن حجر مع تصحيح سهو القلم فيه وضبطه وتحشيته من نسخة مصححة جدا في مجالس من 10 أيام آخرها في 18 من شهر ذي الحجة سنة 15 و300 وألف. أقول وهذه الكتب قرأتها بإثر بعضها فأجهدت نفسي وبصري حتى رمت بأثر ذلك شفاني الله بفضله، وأشفقت من العود إلى مثل ذلك، وتبين أن الخيرة في الاعتدال. نعم لا ينكر أن بعض النفوس لا تتأثر بمثل ذلك لقوة حواسها، وللإنسان بصيرة على نفسه وهو أدرى بها. So Jamaluddin Qasimi said that he said once we had the reciting and teaching of the full Sahih Muslim from the start to the beginning, teaching in 40 days. After that, directly we started with Sunan ibn Majah and we finished it all teaching in 21 days. And after that also Al-Muwatta in 19 days. And all that, when he was saying that he taught Muslim and Al-Muwatta and Ibn Majah, that time he was still 33 years old. He was 33 years only. So in that time he was teaching these books, and from the start to the end, and all this time. And he said that I found a very good copy of manuscript of Taqrib al-Tahdhib. So I corrected it all from the start to the end, with also putting footnotes, and if there's some mistakes I will correct it, and also I will make dabt, I will put the marks on the names, and all of it from the start to the ending in 10 days. So he will say that all these books I was reading one after one directly until I was really weak, and even my vision was weak, and I had a problem in my eye after that, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made me well again. And after that I didn't need to go like this, in this stress and in this pressure, but because to be average is better than to be that to destroy your health like this. That's what he's speaking about himself while he was still 33 years old. Jamaluddin Qasimi rahimahullah, he was always keen about collecting rare books, manuscripts. If he will find a rare manuscript, he will try to buy it, or he will try to copy it and to correct his copy like that. He had the library of his father and grandfather, and also he added a lot. and his library was from the very famous libraries in all the Islamic world, and it was mentioned from many travelers, even those who are very famous in books like Abdul Hayy al-Kattani and others. So as we see, as we know from what he said about himself, he started to teach while he was 14 years old, and he had several jobs and several works, like to be the mu'id, or the reader to his father's dars in the mosque of As-Sinaniya. The mosque of Sinaniya, you can see in the slide here. It's an old mosque in Damascus, and it was the mosque that his father and before his grandfather was teaching in. And you can see here, that's his script while he was 16 years old, about the book of As-Safina. He was less than 16 years old because it's in the start of 99. He was born 83 in the middle. And this is his script while he was 40 years old at the top of the screen. Okay, so Rahimahullah Ta'ala, he started to read in the mosque of As-Sinaniya to his father's durus, to be the main reader, and even later he was also teaching in the time of his father. Then he was asked to be an imam with teaching in the mosque of Al-Annaba in Bab al-Srija in Damascus, while he was 20 years old only. So he was teaching there until 9 years later, until 1309. He was in that time 26 years old. He was asked in Ramadan to give durus in a place called Wadi al-Ajam near Qatana, not far away from Damascus. Next year, in the year 1310, he was working as a judge in Qadi in An-Nabk, and then Qadi in Ba'labak in the 2 years later. Then the year next of that, 1313, that was a moving or a change of his life, because there was an issue happened called Hadith al-Mujtahideen. What happened in that time? He was 30 years old, and as we've seen, when Jamaluddin Qasimi was still young and he was so famous, and his shuyukh was coming, even attending to his durus, and he's meeting the senior scholars and talabat al-ilm in Damascus, and he was unique from others. So he had wide aspects and wide vision. Some saw his meetings with those, and he went to the government that time at the end of the Ottoman time, and they said that Jamaluddin Qasimi and others, they are making like a society, and or making something like a company or something, and they are having ijtima'at, and they have a very dangerous crime they are doing. What they are doing? They are reading hadith and trying to make ijtihad from that. That was what they are. They have this to say to the government. So he was called with many others from the senior scholars of Damascus that time, even Badruddin Hassani and Salim Samara and others, and they took them, and they took them to the police, and they will have trying to detectives with them, and then they took them to the mufti that time. Why you are gathering? Why you are reading hadith? Why you are looking to the sayings of fuqaha? Why you are researching and editing? Why you are asking for dalil? So that was what he was taken, and he was put in the jail for a time. So he said some poems that time. He said, زعم الناس بأني مذهبي يدعى الجمالي, and they said that he's making a new madhab called المذهب الجمالي because he's Jamaluddin القاسمي. زعم الناس بأني مذهبي يدعى الجمالي وإليه حينما أفتي الورى أعزو مقالي لا وعمر الحق إني سلفي الانتحالي مذهبي ما في كتاب الله رب المتعالي ثم ما صح من الأخبار لا قيل وقالي أقتفي الحق ولا أرضى بآراء الرجال وأرى التقليد جهلا وعما في كل حال. And also he said أقول كما قال الأئمة قبلنا صحيح حديث المصطفى هو مذهبي ألبس ثوب القيل والقال باليا ولا أتحلى بالرداء المذهب. So in that time he was some of the shuyukh came to discuss with him why you are looking about ijtihad and why you are looking like that. That made a reaction from Jamaluddin to make him okay. Now after he was having these attacks, so he really said that I will continue, and that made him to be opened and to be more braver and that made him to be announcing that, okay, yes, I will continue, and I will continue to see the madhahib al-ulama and look about tahqiq and not about taqleed and look about dalil and these things. So he had a letter later to Rashid al-Alusi and telling him that this issue that happened to him made him change his mind and made him to go directly to the way of Salaf and not to be afraid from announcing that, and to have his own interest about it. What happened in that time, some told them that you are looking about what's the dalil that khamr is najis. He said that I have written something about it, and it's called تنبيه الغمر في رد شبهة طهارة الخمر. And he said you can see it. So he looked at it and read it, and that's what happened from what he's saying. But what he said later, he said أقول قد أحرقتها بعد ذلك لأني لم أرضها أسوة بما رجعت عنه. So Jamaluddin Qasimi, he said that I had written a lot of things that I burned later and I destroyed later. Why? Because I'm not pleased on some of these books, and I turned from many of my opinions and ideas. So when we look now about his books, that's what reached us, not about what didn't reach or even what was destroyed by himself. And this is a good thing to see about scholars. When they are not pleased about something, all they wrote, they will not keep it, and they will even, like he burned it. After this 4 years, his father passed away in the year 1317, so he took his place in Jami' as-Sinaniyah. He was still teaching and writing and having all his activities, and even he had a lot of enemies, and even his brother said that he was trying to defend him, and whenever he's going, he's taking his gun with him to protect if somebody will try to attack his brother. But even that, many said that Jamaluddin Qasimi, as he had a lot as a reformer, and we can see some sites. Muhammad Ja'far al-Kattani in his rihla to Ash-Sham, he said that he met Jamaluddin Qasimi and he was so generous with us and a very great scholar, and we took ijazah from him. But when we left him, many told us that, look, you came from a Wahhabi person, that he's trying to show to you that he's open and like this, but he's Wahhabi and you don't know that. And he said that's what people are telling me. So even until his last of his life, there were a lot of people trying to attack him and to disturb and to say bad things against him, but he was not bothering about them all. And there's a lot of says from his students that he was not saying anything against his enemies or even having a reaction. He was totally on his time reading and writing and teaching. As he was teaching for a long time, he had a lot of students, and as he was and when some of who spoke about him, they said that his students, most of them are the senior scholars of Damascus, like Bahjat al-Baytar, Hamd al-Taqi, and many others. And many of them, like Muhammad Kurd Ali and Jamil al-Shatti, who was the Mufti of Hanabila, and Abdurrahman Shahbandar, who was the Prime Minister, Izzuddin Alam al-Din Tanuhi, Shakib Arslan, and Muhibbuddin al-Khatib, and many others that they were from his students. If we want to see from he stayed to teach and to write until his last day, and he passed away. He was still not that old. He was 49 years old only. He passed away in the year 1332, rahimahullah ta'ala, and he had a good janaza, and many, even outside Syria, they wrote letters about his prizes and about his good deeds. And from that, we can see a lot, but I need to carry on to finish also, to have the speech also about his tafsir. So in his very short life, we can see that some studied his legacy of books, and like Muhammad Riyad al-Malih, he counted more than 100 books he left. Some of them are like the Tafsir in 17 volumes, and some of them they are 4 volumes, and some of them they are 1 big volume, and some of them they are small letters. But to write more than 100 while he was reading, while he was having a lot of messages, because even his message with the letters with the scholars outside Syria, if they are gathered, there will be also volumes. Like, for example, his letter with Nu'man al-Alusi, it was in one volume when it was collected by Muhammad Nasr al-Ajmi. So a person like that, we can see that he was not wasting any time from his life, rahmatullahi alayh. From his says, he said, rahmatullahi alayh, if you, he was sending to Muhammad Nasif, he said that ولا يخفى عليكم أن أعظم واسطة لنشر المذهب السلفي هو طبع كتبه، وإن كتابا واحدا تتناوله الأيدي على طبقاتها خير من 100 داع وخطيب، لأن الكتاب يبقى أثره ويأخذه الموافق والمخالف. قال: وأعرف أن كثيرا من الجامدين اهتدوا بواسطة ما طبعناه ونشرناه اهتداء ما كان يظن، والحمد لله على ذلك. So he was saying that to spread the Salaf path, the best way is to print and publish its book, because in his time still there were very rare books of the Salaf path. Even the books of Ibn Taymiyyah and others, it was very rarely printed at that time. We're talking about like 150 years ago or 140 years ago. So he was also from those who started to print the books of Ibn Taymiyyah and others, and also with his books, which he had a lot of things to spread the madhab of Salaf in that time. Okay, and he said that one book spread is better than 100 da'iya or khatib, because the book will stay and the effect will last, and it will take it who wants it and even who's against it. And he said that many from those that I know, they, alhamdulillah, they had the guidance from what we published, alhamdulillah, while we did not think that will happen, but alhamdulillah that happened. And he said in another letter that إنني ولله الحمد نشأت على حب مؤلفات شيخ الإسلام والحرص عليها والدعوة إليها، وأعتقد أن كل من لم يطالع بها لم يشم رائحة العلم الصحيح ولا ذاق لذة فهم العقل السليم. And so he was saying that I was young, I was loving the books of Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, and I was so keen about to it, and also to make da'wah to it. And I think that who does not read it, he didn't have the correct knowledge, and he did not taste the flavor of the good understanding. And he said that الوقت من أسمى مواهب الخالق التي لا يمكن استعادتها متى فاتت، فلا تتصرف فيه بما يؤسفك على فواته أو يجعلك تندم على باطل استعماله، إذ لا فكرة أشد ألما من قولي فات الوقت أو كان هذا يمكن أن يكون، والوقت أمانة عندك تسأل عن التصرف فيه فلا تضع منه كثيرا. And he was saying about the most valuable thing is time, and you should not be sorry later that you said, oh, time is gone and I didn't make it. And so he said this is something that is so precious, and you should not waste it. And he was talking about reading. He said ساعات المطالعة أسعد أوقات الحياة وما يطلب من السرور في غيرها هو ظل مما يستخلص من لذيذ مسراته. He said the most tasty thing and the most happy thing in life is reading. And there's a lot of things that if we look about what he said, we can find. But anyway, we need to carry on. What scholars said about him is too much. They prized him a lot, and they said a lot of good things about him. We can see some of the quotes from Rashid Rida and Muhammadin Khatib and Bahjat Baytar and others. And the books that spoke about him also, it's full about what scholars said to him. For example, Rashid Rida said هو علامة الشام ونادرة الأيام والمجدد لعلوم الإسلام. ومحمدين الخطيب said كان مصباحا من مصابيح الإصلاح الإسلامي. وبهجة البيطار كان يقول أنه يعني كان شديد التعلق به وكان له أثر كبير عليه، غرس في نفسه حب السلفية ونقاء العقيدة. يقول ابنه وكم كنت أراه يبكي وهو يذكر أستاذه القاسمي. My father was always crying when he was remembering his teacher Jamaluddin al-Qasimi. In this short life, as we said, he had a lot of books, more than 100. You can see here some of his books. For example, from the famous books, قواعد التحديث, about gathering and trying to make tajdeed to علوم الحديث, and in the time, a suitable language for his time. And from the famous books also, إصلاح المساجد من البدع والعوائد, in one volume. It was also with تخريج of Shaykh Nasruddin Albani رحمه الله. This book, it was also about reforming the mosque and what are bid'ah there, and things that it's not from Sharia and it's famous, it's happening in the mosque to make it. And also from his books, also there is also in that time there was the main, as we said, it was an era that mostly about tasawwuf. So he made Ihya Ulumuddin and Qut al-Qulub. He made like a summary with tahdhib. So he will change the book and also only try to bring and present the things that they are not criticized from these books. So if somebody wants to read the book, he will say, okay, take this book. I removed the weak hadiths. I removed some of the ideas that could be criticized. So you can take it in this book better than to read the original one. And this is at the left, the left side at the top, also the message and the letters between him and between Mahmoud Shukri Alusi. It's a very nice book. If somebody wants to read it, it will be part of the history of Salafiyya. So these are some of his books. And from the books that spoke about him, about his biography, the main book is Jamaluddin Qasimi by his son Dhafir al-Qasimi on the left. And on the right, the book from Muhammad Nasir al-Ajmi. He had his self-biography and also a lot of fawaid, a lot of very nice book. Also, this is from the main books about Jamaluddin Qasimi. And also on the top, there's a book by Nizar Abada, and down there's a book by Mahmoud Mahdi al-Istanbuli from the old students of Shaykh al-Albani. These are some samples of the book about al-Qasimi. And in academia also, there's a lot of studies about him, PhDs and master theses. One of them is about al-Qasimi and his views in i'tiqad, other his works and in hadith, and other is about his ikhtiyarat in fiqh. All these are academic letters. Now, the next session that we need to have an idea about is about especially his main book and his most famous book, and his biggest book is Tafsir, Mahasin al-Ta'wil. Mahasin al-Ta'wil, al-Qasimi rahimahullah had this book, wrote his book in like 16 or 17 years. So he started with this book in the year 1316, and he finished in the year he passed away, 1332. So he had near 16 or 17 years working with this book. And when we are speaking about the books of Al-Qasimi, all his books, they are all in his hand script. So he's not like giving one of his students, take from here and put from there. All these books he's making by his own. He's writing them. He is reading and researching and writing and having them all. I've seen the original copy in the library of his grandson, Muhammad Sa'id al-Qasimi rahimahullah, one of the shuyukh that I met and had ijazah from. And he's the student of Shaykh Hamid al-Taqi, the main student, the cousin of Jamaluddin Qasimi, Ibn Khalatihi, and he was the biggest student of Jamaluddin Qasimi, and the second one was Bashar Baytar. So Shaykh Muhammad Sa'id al-Qasimi, I saw in his library, he had a lot from, because Jamaluddin Qasimi, as we said, he had a very great library. When he passed away, then his sons, everyone took his part of his library, but the grandson, Muhammad Sa'id, he was a very educated man. He told them that I want at least the manuscripts written by my grandfather to be gathered in one place. So I met him in Damascus and I saw his tafsir by the hand script of Jamaluddin Qasimi in his library. I don't know what happened now because he passed away 3 years ago, Muhammad Sa'id rahimahullah ta'ala. Anyway, this book is from these fruits of his life he wrote in 16 years. This book, if we know that scholars had many types of tafsir, some about tafsir bil-ma'thur, depending on hadith and athar, some about linguistic and tafsir bil-lugha, some more focusing about balagha, some about al-ahkam. But this tafsir by Jamaluddin Qasimi is more about an encyclopedia of tafsir. So it's an extended tafsir. What he wanted to do is to make some a total tafsir that you can find there, the things about basically it's a tafsir bil ma'thur, and also it's on the aqidah of the Salaf, especially about the ayat sifat, and also against the bid'ah, and sometimes he will give some notes and criticizing for bid'ah, especially from the Mu'tazila, and also he will present something about البلاغة and القراءات and أحكام. So what he wanted rahmatullah alayh is to make a grand tafsir to the era that he was there, and also with a type that it will be more understandable. The thing that Jamaluddin Qasimi rahmatullah alayh, as he was looking in his books, if we see many of his books, they are about the issues of his era to correct and to reform. We don't have that time to go through some of his books, but we gave some like إصلاح المساجد من البدع والعوائد. But in the tafsir, usually Jamaluddin Qasimi in his books, because he had a very massive knowing about books, so he will usually in his books he will take from this author and that author and that author, and he will collect it together and make it like a book. So in the tafsir, for example, you will find it full of the sayings of Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn al-Qayyim, and many other scholars. So when he wants to take about things about lugha, he will take mostly from Abu Saud and al-Zamakhshari. When he wants to take about al-munasaba, the relation between the verses, ayat wa suwar, he will take mostly from al-Biqa'i. From when he wants to take, when he finds something for Ibn Taymiyyah and al-Qayyim, he will try to put it even if it's very long pages. So that's the way how al-Qasimi made. This was that was how his tafsir was mostly focusing on talabat al-ilm, not for the common people. Common people, when they read it, it will not be that to make it in an easy way, like for example Sadiq Hassan Khan was doing. Sadiq Hassan Khan was usually, when he's editing a book, he was making it in a language is easier for the common people. But Jamaluddin Qasimi, for especially the tafsir, is like that. One faida I had heard several times from my Shaykh Abdurrahman Albani, rahmatullah, Abdurrahman Albani, the oldest students of Shaykh Albani. He told me that once Ahmad Shakir came to Damascus, and I was the person that going with him. So I asked him, because he was the student, Ahmad Shakir, he was the student of Jamaluddin Qasimi and also the student of Tahir al-Jazairi. Both of them had a book in Mustalah al-Hadith. Jamaluddin Qasimi had Qawaid al-Tahdith, and al-Jazairi, Tahir al-Jazairi, had the book Tawjih al-Nazar. So I asked him, what do you prefer from the writing of Jamaluddin Qasimi or the style of Tahir al-Jazairi? So what he said Ahmad Shakir told him that like al-Qasimi has a very wide knowledge about books. So he's Hasan al-Intiqa, Jayyid al-Intiqa, Hasan al-Tartib. So he's a person that he knows exactly what to choose, and his arranging of the book are very nice, but it's usually taking from the others. That's the type of how he was writing. And this is something that well known from the ulama, even as-Suyuti and others, Ibn Hajar and others. But he said Tahir al-Jazairi has a different style. He's like a bee who will go to several, when he go to the sources, not like Jamaluddin, he will take from here and there, but he will have a very nice selection. Tahir al-Jazairi, he's like a bee. He will take from every flower, then he will make it from his own, like a syrup or like honey from his own style. But he said both of them are have very wide experience and very wide knowledge about books. So Jamaluddin Qasimi in his tafsir is also as his usual style to take from other scholars, to know what to where to pick from the good fawaid and how to arrange it in a good way. Anyway, Al-Qasimi usually in his tafsir, he will say al-qawlu fi ta'wili qawli ta'ala, then he will present the verse or the ayah, and he will give the meaning of the words, ma'ani mufradat, and some of the some points about what the Mufassirin said. He will depend on Ibn Kathir, as we said, if something linguistic he will take from Zamakhshari and Abu Saud, if something about munasabat and the relation between ayat and surah he will take from al-Biqa'i and others. And then sometimes he will also present from what he has. And he will present, some says about the meaning of the verse on the Mufassirin, and sometimes also he will present the qira'at. He will point to the meanings of the, and he will sometimes give the meaning of the qira'at, why this qira'at came like that, why it came like that, and he will give sometimes the i'rab, and sometimes he will try to give the wisdom, why about the wisdom and the moral of the ayat. As we said, he will give the relations between the verses, and he brings a lot the hadith that are related to the tafsir, and he will recommend what's more authentic from them. And he will sometimes he will take a long comment on some verses, and sometimes he will present something about the modern scientific things. As we've seen that Al-Qasimi also, he learned astronomy, for example, so he will present, but mostly he's depending on tafsir bil ma'thur. He will sometimes also answer and criticize some of the aqaid, especially the Mu'tazila and Shia and Qadariyah, and on the verses of Sifat. He said from the start that he is depending on tafsir salaf, and he will not make ta'wil or ta'til for them. He gave a good introduction at the start, before he started tafsir al-Fatiha, about the knowledge of Quran, ulum al-Quran. He will also present the nasikh and mansukh and asbab al-nuzul, and if the ayah is Makki or Madani, and is very rarely that he will present something of the Israeliyat, because he doesn't believe with it, and so he will usually ignore the Israeliyat. And if there's something about the seerah of the seerah nabawiyah, he will also present and give some notes from Ibn Ishaq and others. That's in general. If we will see about the book, it was printed first of time. It wasn't printed in the time of Jamaluddin Qasimi. It was printed later by his students and son. They sent it to Egypt, and it was edited and printed by Muhammad Fuad Abdul Baqi. What I've seen on the manuscript of Jamaluddin Qasimi, there are some pages, Jamaluddin Qasimi put lined, he crossed line, and he changed some what he written before. And there's something I've seen that Jamaluddin Qasimi said in a letter, that whatever I wrote before 1320, it need to be reviewed, because it still had from the effect of when he was before tasawwuf, before he went to improve and to reform to the madhab of as-salaf. So some of these things are widely, you can read it under the lines there. So the students, they made like with Dhafir, the son of Shaykh Jamaluddin Qasimi, and they sent it to Muhammad Fuad Abdul Baqi, and he printed, that was 1376, 1957. So that was 34 years after the death of Jamaluddin Qasimi. Anyway, if you want to give in brief, I don't know how much time still is left. I think only less than 10 minutes. So you can see that he's quoting a lot from Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn Jarir, Ibn al-Qayyim, Ibn Jazari, Ibn Hajar, Ibn al-Khaldun, Ibn Kathir, Abu Ubaid, Burhan Din al-Biqa'i, al-Hafidh al-Dhahabi, al-Fakhr al-Razi, al-Samakhshari, al-Suyuti, al-Izz Abd al-Salam, Ibn Qutayba, al-Nawawi, Waliullah Dihlawi. Also, he is quoting from Waliullah Dihlawi, so that's how we can see that in his time still there are connection. And he will also sometimes present from like Muhammad Abdo and some of the recent scholars, and as we've seen, and also from Al-Ghazali and others. You can see there's how a lot he's quoting from previous books, like also Abu Saud and others. For example, sometimes like when he quoted in a place, when he said, is there any majaz in Quran or no? He said he only presented the headline, and after that he presented 27 pages. It's all from Ibn Taymiyyah. So Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, as we've seen in that time, it was very rarely books printed. So Jamaluddin Qasimi, when he found something for Ibn Taymiyyah, he will definitely put it in his tafsir. Anyway, if we want to give directly some notes, in few notes, the last notes about the tafsir. So he will present the relations between the ayat of surah. For example, at the start of Surah Al-Baqarah, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا سَوَاءٌ عَلَيْهِمْ, he will say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after he gave the description of the mu'mineen, الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ, then he gave in the opposite what are the description of the kafir. And about the ulum al-Quran, he will present, usually when he present anything about the surah, he will say if it's Makki or Madani and give the number of surah, and if there are some fada'il and praises of this surah, he will present that, and he will speak about the nasikh or mansukh and other things about, and sometimes he will discuss the opinions of scholar if they see it's nasikh or mansukh, and sometimes he will not. About the qira'at also, he's presenting usually qira'at, but not including all the qira'at on the surah. As we've seen in his biography, he read riwayat Hafs to the Shaykh al-Qurra of Damascus, Ahmad al-Hulwani. Others he's taking from the other books, but sometimes even he will not only depend on the qira'at mutawatira, sometimes, rarely, he will even present the shadh. He will name the qira'ah, and he will also, from the main things on his tafsir, he will quote from the other mufassiri and name them, like as we've seen, as we've said about the Makhshari and the Mas'ud and others, and Ibn Kathir. About the gharib words, the odd words and things, also he will present them and take them from the books like As-Sihah, Qamus al-Muhit, Taj al-Arus, and he will sometimes present to support the meaning about from the verses from the Shi'r of al-Arab. So, and from the grammar things, no. Sometimes he will also present something about al-Nahu. Anyway, I will finish in 2 minutes, inshallah ta'ala, or 1 minute. The thing, if we can speak a lot about still about his tafsir and about his biography, but I think that we reach the end of our time. On this picture, you can see this is Muhammad Sa'id al-Qasimi, the grandson of Jamaluddin. In his hands is the manuscript of Tafsir al-Qasimi, and behind him, this is Tafsir al-Qasimi, the manuscript. And here also an old picture of Jami' al-Sinaniya. Here are some of the studies about Tafsir al-Qasimi. There are several studies. There are some, and I benefited a lot from the Abdurrahman Jamal's one. And I will need to stop here because I don't want to take some of my other time. The next lecturer, Jazakumullah khairan. Thank you for listening. Barakallah fikum. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik. La ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. It was an excellent talk, mashallah. As well, I will just add that he also had notes on Rawdatul Nadiyah of Nawab Siddiq Hasan Khan, which have been printed with the notes of Shaykh Ahmad Shakir recently, Taliqat al-Zahabiyah. So his Taliqat on Rawdatul Nadiyah and the Taliqat of Shaykh Albani and Ahmad Shakir, they all have been published recently. So that's just one addition. And Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. It was a beautiful presentation. And it's very good for the youth to know the efforts of the scholars. So instead of wasting lots of time, sometimes in qil wa qal and, online gossip, they can, like our aslaf, promote the works of Tawheed and Sunnah and Quran and Hadith, and teach these books of tafsir to the youth, and copy our scholars. Jazakumullah khair, Shaykh. May Allah preserve you, and we hope to benefit from you further. May Allah Ta'ala keep your health steadfast and make you carry on writing more biographies of other great scholars and our scholars as well. Jazakumullah khair, Shaykh. May Allah preserve you. So without any further ado, the next